deciding set, and that's going to be a best of 2. Any set can still be decided by Armageddon.
You know, the first surprise of the match for me has already been done. It was on stage when Magnus was talking, an admission by him that he's nervous for this match. And that's not usual at all. Even if Magnus is feeling the tension or the nerves, I've never heard him say that right before an encounter.
Me neither. It's a historic moment on the board, off the board. Magnus' nerves did almost hinder him against Hikaru Nakamura, but he's hoping to shake them off. If Magnus strikes first, he is so hard to catch. Hikaru, one of the few who has the ability to strike back. I think Alireza, he will want to be at least holding this first game with the black pieces. As we see the first big decision, the Queen's Gambit, the Catalan opening is a branch of that, has been accepted. Magnus trying to go pawn hunting with his queen to restore the balance.
E5, D5 being played.
Material, who will that little melee have favored?
And it comes down to the pawn structure one more time, right? Pawns are the soul of chess. And here we see with everything else equal, is going to be the attack on that C3 weakness that Magnus has, but in return has opened up certain lines for his rook. Let's point out that beautiful bishop on G2, eyeing the B7 weakness. Once the rook slides over to B1, Magnus is going to try to get into Alireza's camp.
So now we're in a situation, both sides, of course, have the bishop pair. They're jostling for position, trying to improve the positions of their pieces. The queen ducking away from the d-file as well, so that it's not forced with tempo. If white decides to put a rook on the d-file, for example, white would obviously like black to take the bishop on e3 so that the recapture with the knight could be possible and starts to improve the position there. But otherwise, the real difference here does come down to pawn structure, and we do see white with those two isolated pawns on the A and C line. Not a problem at the moment, but that could be a longer-term weakness.
Definitely. And in the meantime, Magnus looking very calm on the camera. He talked about nerves, but his heart rate is down at 66. Let's take a note of everyone's baseline here. Alireza started the game with a decently high heart rate. It's gone up to almost 100 already. It's a huge, momentous occasion. Who will come out on top? Magnus improving his rook in the meantime. It's his type of position. It's very technical, no big attacks on either side's king, mutually, kind of lots to be excited about. Alireza with Magnus's weak pawns, but Magnus with his active pieces.
And I like that last move. You were speaking about active pieces. Alireza blunts that bishop on G2 with C6. And right now, Magnus offers his trademark queen trade. Every single player on the planet must think not twice, but 5 times before getting queens off the board against Magnus.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because typically you think, okay, queens off the board, that means there are fewer dynamics in the position to play with. There's the possibility of easier draws in the game compared to when queens are on. Yet Magnus is very happy to do that every single time and find small and subtle ways to get the wins despite this. It's absolutely incredible, and that's probably the reason why Firouzja is moving the queen away.
I love it. It only took him under 20 seconds to decide whether to take the queens off the board or to keep them on. Alireza, he sticks true to his guns, playing to his style. He's a very attacking player, needs the queens, and he's playing against Magnus's bigger strength, the endgame. Take the queens off there, improve the white pawn chain, and you are suffering for the rest of this encounter. Alireza wants to go hunting for Magnus's king. The black queen standing on the edge of the board. Will this threat be blocked? Will she run away? And there we go. The bishop jumps out. That's a pawn sacrifice. Magnus grabs on b7, but Alireza will... Oh, he can trap black's rook in the corner. This is so hidden, so difficult, but will Magnus Carlsen see it? He's frowning. The white knight can go to the b8 square. The black... He's found it, Magnus Carlsen. He's winning the black rook due to some back rank issues here. Double exclamation mark given. Firouzja, he hasn't realized yet, hasn't reacted, but suddenly he finds himself lost.
Firouzja? In shock right now. That rook trapped from an innocuous position. It felt like this was fizzling out. All the trades that happened and a one-move blunder. And look at that. You can take the queen, but the rook takes queen comes in with a massive check. It's not checkmate. Firouzja can drop back with the queen, but he lose big material. Magnus Carlsen with a winning advantage here.
That is unbelievable. And out of nowhere, we have an incredible tactic. And suddenly, this is all Magnus Carlsen in game number 1. Almost uncharacteristic of Firouzja there, but it's very difficult to spot as well. We've been talking about knights back to the back rank. Your opponent's back rank is what won that piece for Magnus. Incredible.
Yeah, it was so hidden. It was a queen sacrifice.
Magnus was in shock.
It's out of nowhere. And while that's unbelievably shocking, at the same time, how many times have we said it's come out of nowhere when we're commentating a game involving Magnus Carlsen? He generates these opportunities. He generates his own luck. It's incredible that that's happened. Now we need to look at the reaction of Firouzja. He knows that this first game is probably a loss. However, what can he do about it? What does his mentality look like?
He has to recover from everything that's happened. I think he has to calm himself down. He's not resigning. He's going to try to fight this out, but in his head, somewhere he's getting ready for that fight in game 2. Rather than rushing to that after a blunder, many times in our own heads, we're sort of accepting the reality of what's just happened, getting ready for the fight that's coming on, where he will be playing with the white pieces. But how trivial is this endgame as Firouzja tries to set up a fortress?
It still takes time. Magnus will still need to maneuver. At the moment, he's trying to break through with his king. He's going to have to use teamwork here. The white rook and white king need to target the base of Black's pawn chain. It's all about the f7 square. Black's got to keep it defended with his king. He's got to use his knight to shield and shoulder away White's king as it tries to approach that pawn.
And if this is a theoretical win for White, how does he break through? At what point does Black no longer have any defense against this?
It's when that pawn falls, simply. It's when the white rook lands on the 7th rank and when the king, the white king, is able to approach. At the moment, it can't get any closer, but Magnus now taking away squares from the black knight, for liberating his rook. Easy to kick the black king away, but it's the knight and the jumps there you need to be careful of.
You know, what was so impressive was that pattern, the tactical motive that Firouzja missed on the board and allowed his own rook to get trapped in its starting position was spotted by Magnus in under 1 second. The moment Firouzja moved his queen to the wrong square, Magnus, you could see it on him. He leaned forward. He was locked in. He knew that Firouzja had made a massive blunder.
Look how the black knight is actually trapped on its back rank. No squares. Magnus, almost with a head bob, kind of shaking in the chair now. He knows this is a dream start to him. I'm not going to fault Firouzja at all. That was the most hidden trick, most sneaky tactic I've seen so far at the EWC. And there we go. It's the first result of the grand final.